For decades, globalization was the playbook. Companies chased efficiency across borders, building sprawling supply chains and international partnerships that powered profits and growth. Made in America quietly gave way to Made Everywhere. But today that playbook is being rewritten. Trade tensions, geopolitical risks, and supply chain shocks are forcing US firms to rethink what global really means. The smooth, interconnected world that defined 20th century business is being replaced by a patchwork of regional networks, national priorities, and political red lines. And this shift, from globalization to strategic localization, is reshaping how American companies operate both abroad and at home. So are US firms truly rethinking globalization? And if so, what does that mean for their domestic strategy? Let's start with the why. The last few years have shown just how fragile global systems can be. A pandemic froze ports, a war in Europe sent energy prices surging, trade tensions with China disrupted everything from chips to clothing. What used to be an invisible global engine suddenly became a liability. For decades, globalization was built on one principle: cost optimization. Companies spread operations wherever production was cheapest. China offered manufacturing scale, Southeast Asia offered labor, and Europe offered markets. But cheap no longer means secure. When shipping containers stall, when tariffs rise overnight, when technology exports get banned, those savings vanish, and companies are learning that efficiency without resilience is a recipe for chaos. That realization has triggered a massive rethink, not just in Washington, but in boardrooms across America. We're now seeing what economists call de-risking globalization. It's not about abandoning global trade, it's about balancing it. Instead of relying on one or two foreign markets, companies are diversifying suppliers, spreading risk, and building redundancy. Apple is producing more devices in India and Vietnam. Automakers are sourcing parts from Mexico instead of China. Semiconductor giants are investing billions in Arizona, Ohio, and Texas. The US government has fueled this shift through the CHIPS Act and the Inflation Reduction Act, offering tax credits and subsidies to build strategic industries domestically, from clean energy to high-tech manufacturing. But the ripple effects extend far beyond factories. When US firms localize production, they also localize strategy. That means hiring locally, training locally, and designing products tailored to regional markets. A car made in Tennessee may be built for US customers, while another in Mexico may serve Latin America. Globalization used to be about scale, one global model for every market. The new era is about adaptation, different strategies for different regions. This shift is reshaping how companies think about growth. In the old model, international expansion was the default way to increase revenue. Now, firms are rediscovering domestic opportunity. The US economy, with its vast consumer base and industrial revival, suddenly looks like fertile ground again. Manufacturing is rebounding. Construction of new factories has surged to its highest level in decades. Infrastructure spending is fueling jobs and supply chains. And local production means shorter lead times, more control, and faster responses to consumer trends. That doesn't mean global ambition is fading, it's evolving. Instead of globalization, companies are embracing regionalization. Think North America as one business zone, the US, Mexico, and Canada operating as a tightly integrated economic ecosystem. Automakers, for example, are building EV supply chains that move seamlessly across borders, from battery materials in Canada to assembly in Mexico to sales in the US. This regional model gives companies both reach and stability. It keeps them competitive internationally while reducing exposure to faraway shocks. But there's a catch. Rethinking globalization comes with a price tag. Building local capacity is expensive. Training workers, securing land, and managing environmental regulations all add costs. In some industries, like apparel, electronics, and consumer goods, domestic production simply can't match overseas prices yet. That's why the companies that succeed won't be those that simply move production home. They'll be the ones that modernize it. Automation, robotics, and AI are the real enablers of this shift. If the US wants to stay competitive while producing locally, it must produce smarter. Factories are becoming data-driven, workers are being retrained as machine operators, and AI is optimizing everything from maintenance to inventory. This mix of technology and localization, sometimes called smart shoring, is how US firms will make reindustrialization sustainable. But the transformation isn't just operational, it's strategic. When globalization was at its peak, corporate strategy revolved around managing expansion. New markets, new logistics, new mergers. Today, strategy revolves around managing risk. CEOs are spending as much time on geopolitics as they are on product development. That's why risk officers, once back-office roles, now sit in board meetings. It's why supply chain visibility tools are among the fastest-growing segments in enterprise software. Every major company now asks the same question. If something breaks, a border closes, a tariff appears, a crisis erupts, can we still deliver? That question is redefining competitive advantage. It's no longer just about who can make it cheaper, but who can make it safely. The companies that thrive in this environment will be those that view resilience not as a cost, but as an investment, a moat around their operations. Domestically, this is fueling a new kind of business energy. Local suppliers, logistics hubs, and industrial towns are seeing renewed interest from major corporations. Small and mid-sized businesses are being pulled into the national supply chain again, not as side players, but as essential partners. The idea that global equals better is giving way to a more balanced truth. Global reach requires local strength, and that may turn out to be the greatest upside of this entire shift. By rethinking globalization, US firms aren't retreating, they're rediscovering. They're realizing that domestic innovation, skilled labor, and proximity to consumers can be as valuable as any offshore advantage. It's not the end of globalization. It's globalization, version 2. One built on stability instead of speed, security instead of scale. So are US firms rethinking globalization? Absolutely. And what does it mean for domestic strategy? It means the next phase of growth will come not from chasing the cheapest option, but from building the most dependable one. Because in a world that keeps changing, the smartest move isn't to be everywhere, it's to be ready for anything.